Hi, I'm Rachel, and this is my AM reading video for Friday, December 18th, 2020, on a Saturday. I'm inadvertently making a new tradition here. Maybe I'll get out of it in 2021. We'll see. Go back to actually being on Friday. But in the meantime, I have some books to talk about. The book I finished this week, I talked about a fair bit last week. This is Beyond the Shadowed Earth by Joanna Ruth Meyer. YA fantasy written by a woman who I knew vaguely from a NaNoWriMo Vidler community. This is a companion novel to her first novel, Beneath the Haunting Sea. To pick up where we left off, the second half of the novel certainly was a fair bit buzzier, I guess, than the first half. I mean, there was a lot that happened, and you know, the plot gained steam, and also the character development for the main character gained steam. Also, we got some references to Lord of the Rings near the end of this. The first one being that near the end of the journey, Ida and her companions were utilizing huge flying eagles to get to their supernatural destination. And second of all, I have to say the ending kind of did take forever to actually end. It seemed like we were kind of stuck in the ending for a while. That being said, I am on record. I've really loved the world building in this, and that's really when the fantastical elements got to shine, because that's when Ida actually made it to see the god that she was, you know, hunting down, and got to really face off with what her final destiny should be and the fate of her world altogether. There's just a lot of nice world building in this epic fantasy land. I think it's probably the strongest part of the book. Although Ida is ultimately kind of fun to follow, or nice to follow. Well, she was an antagonist, and I think by the end she finally does start to come to terms with some of her own shortcomings, so it makes her a little more digestible as a character than she was in the beginning, when she was pretty ignorant of and stubborn about what was going on in and around her. But yeah, I would definitely recommend this one, and you don't even have to read the first book. I probably don't even remember much of the first book, to be honest. So it's a good companion that could be a standalone as well. Next, I had to take a bit of a detour from what I was talking about in my last video, and I am about halfway through her Fearful Symmetry by Audrey Niffenegger. This is tongue twisters all around. I'm reading this book now. It came from the library at long last. You know, with COVID, it takes forever, I guess, with the library, or at least Montgomery County. It's my first time since COVID using Montgomery County, and it was such a hassle to go to a building that is actually right next door to me, but, you know, we have to be safe. Anyway, they quarantined the books, and it took forever for the holds to get to the library, and blah, blah. And anyway, the reason I had to read this book and actually have to finish it pretty rapidly tomorrow is because my mom and honorary auntie's book club is meeting in the evening tomorrow, and this is our book. This is Niffenegger's second book after The Time Traveler's Wife, which was widely acclaimed and made into a movie. This one also deals with fantastical elements, such as it's a ghost story. I guess, kind of main character dies of cancer and then is haunting her own flat in London. She'd stipulated that her two nieces, who she doesn't really know, have to live in the house for a year, and then they'll inherit a lot from her, and then they can sell it if they want to. And she has some beef with her sister, which seems to be that her sister stole her fiancé, so they can't come in, but the two girls can. And here she is haunting the house that they're living in, more or less. I have a bad track record, I feel like, with the book club. The book I liked the most was the one I suggested. And this one, I just, you know, after talking about something that's absolutely fantasy, I'm frustrated again by lazy literary fiction writing. I think that I mean, I think a ghost story could be interesting, but not necessarily in this context. There's a lot of other things in the pot here. It's unfocused. We also have a neighbor struggling with OCD. We have the fact that these two twins are like mirror twins and they don't really seem like real people. And I have a lot of, I don't know, I'm defensive about the idea of how twins are used in fiction because I feel like they're not always seen as actual living real people, and they're used like, you know, the Stephen King twins in The Shining or something to be spooky. I don't know. And then there's a graveyard as well where this woman is buried and is actually right next to her flat, and she has this much younger boyfriend who then gets interested in one of the girls, it seems like. It's kind of getting Lolita-ish in here, and the other one befriends the OCD character who maybe on his own would be kind of interesting to track that story, but you know, this novel is just going into way too many directions, and I don't appreciate the fantasy of this magical realism. And there's just so many, I guess there's things in the premise that, you know, are so contrived, or, you know, like the fact that, you know, these two girls who, you know, first of all, they're like 21, and of course they look 10 or something, and they don't have to work, and they don't have to go to school. They just can sit there and they're like existential angst all the time, which, you know, I do all the time, but only in these videos, then I have to go to work afterwards, or before. So yeah, I don't know. And then I went ahead and early on read a Guardian article that was similarly unimpressed with the book, and my feeling after I passive-aggressively nudged the book club through email is that other people are kind of feeling a little meh about this book as well. So we'll see how the conversation goes tomorrow, and I'll check back about how I feel about the second half. So I do hope to start Do Not Say We Have Nothing by Madeleine Thien next, which I said I'd be starting last week, but then I had to take the detour. This book won my page 112 tag that I did last week, so I put it on the docket. This is a book about communist China, and it's been well received. Shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize 2016, so I am pretty hopeful, and I will get back to you. And then next on the docket after that is Apple of Sodom by Mary Hoffman. This was put out by a local small press, Brickhouse Books, in Baltimore. I'm in the DC area. And I will read from the back. Emily Crawford, a young American wife and mother, seeks a long overdue self-respect in this absorbing and dramatic portrait of an expatriate family experiencing life in an exotic Arab culture at the start of the 1960s. Revelatory episodes unfold against the entertainments of the well-to-do and influential among the lives of ordinary citizens and during the explorations of ancient cities in the Holy Land and beyond. So yeah, there's a couple reasons that I was interested in and bought this to read. The first being is that I'm interested in small presses, and especially local small presses, to see what they publish, especially as I'm trying to get my literary novella published somewhere, hopefully. I was also drawn to the location. I read a lot of Israeli fiction personally, or or books by Jews about Israel, but maybe not so as much about the surrounding countries. A little bit. I've read a couple about Egypt earlier that I really loved. But anyway, this actually, and also is from a perspective that I guess in a way is familiar to me, because this is from an American exploring the Middle East. So that'll be an interesting perspective, and also, presumably a Christian exploring the Holy Land or Israel. So that would also be a relatively unusual perspective for me personally to be reading. So I am curious to give it a go. So that about covers it for me now. You should find me next here on this channel with my Hanukkah video, which I have finally finished recording, because my annual tradition is to read one short story from a collection as I light my candles, and this year it was The Last Chicken in America, a novel and stories by Ellen Littman. So I will be posting my review of this book to Goodreads, and then cobbling together a rather long and rambly video about it soon. So stay tuned. And speaking of Hanukkah and BookTube, which just ended, I want to highlight Hannah at her book channel, Hannah and the Books, because she did a whole bookaka series of videos for the 8 nights, where she basically did sort of a Bookmas, Vlogmas sort of thing, except on the contours of each night of Hanukkah rather than leading up to Christmas. And so I'll link to her channel down below. I particularly liked her video where she and her family went a little out of the DC area, because she's my neighbor, so to speak, but they went out to broader Maryland and found a park to walk around in, and it looked really nice, and it made me wish I had a car to go there. I guess I should just go to the park near my own home. I could do that. But anyway, it's a really nice video, so check it out, and all of her other 7 videos as well for Bookaka, and of course the rest of her channel too. And I hope all the rest of you are having a happy holiday season, whether or not you are wrapping up Hanukkah with Hannah and I, or if you are gearing up for the next big holiday on the horizon. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time.